Hi everyone, this is Elena of the Witches Box, and I'm here today with another episode of Witch Booktube. And today we're going to be covering the two books that I sent out beginning of February for the Witches Book subscription. If you don't know what the Witches Book subscription is, I'm going to give you a little snippet of what it is, but down below there will be a link for it so that you can read more about it. The Witches Book subscription is where you subscribe and I send you and everyone else who's subscribed the same two books. The idea is that we are just in an avalanche of Witchcraft 101 books out there, and they're super easy to access, but really we have way too many Witches 101 books at this point. And the purpose of the Witches Book subscription is to go deeper. So the books that I send out to you will be deep dives into particular topics about witchcraft. We will explore different traditions sometimes. Sometimes we'll explore specific workings and how that evolves and plays into our growing spiritual path. So the books that we cover are definitely not 101 books. They're more advanced, intermediate to advanced books. And we then gather on a forum and talk about what we're reading. And then at the end of the month, we have a live online gathering where we'll talk about the books, kind of like a Witches Book Coven club. And often, I think for every single book, every single month, except for the first, we had the authors come and join us. So we were able to talk to authors who've written the books that we were reading, ask them questions, and get an idea of what was going on behind the scenes when they were writing the books that they wrote that we read. So today's video is talking about the two books that we read for the month of February. Last night was the Witches Book Coven gathering online, so I am fresh off of that high. I'm so excited. It was such a great talk. And the two books that we read were Celtic Tree Rituals by Sharlyn Hidalgo and Healing Power of Trees. First of all, can we have a minute? Can we have a long minute to appreciate the beauty of these covers? And the camera isn't doing it justice because the detail, I don't know that you can see it, but the detail in this drawing is just, it's exquisite. I feel like last night when I was talking with the author, Sharlyn, I said, when I read books that really speak to me that I think are really fantastic, I have, I've got 4 bookshelves here, and actually I'm ready for a 5th and 6th because I have book piles now on the floor. But usually I have a couple of shelves that I specifically set aside for those books that are like, oh, those are really good books that I'm probably going to read again, or that are kind of like my 4 and 5 star books that I like to kind of keep set aside. These books would definitely go into like that shelf. However, they're so beautiful that I don't want to put them away on a shelf. I want to put them out somewhere because just even as sacred beauty art to have lying around on your altar or on your coffee table or look at how beautiful. And this color combo here, I love. Anyway, so obviously the design I love. I love these books. Here are the 2 spines. Both books are by Llewellyn. So these books go into depth on the Celtic tree year. It goes into all 13 sacred trees that we know of so far in the Celtic tradition. She weaves in working with runes and with the Ogham. I used to pronounce it Ogham, which was wrong. In both books, she will take each of the 13 sacred trees. One book will cover those trees and the correspondences and the type of work that you would do with each of those trees along the calendar of the year in the Celtic tradition. And then in the other book, which is Celtic Tree Rituals, she will then go into each of the trees and go into and share with you different rituals and different meditations and practices that you can do with each of the trees to become more intimate with each one of them and incorporate that into your spiritual practice. What I loved and what I told the group, the subscription group, when I sent them out in the beginning of February was I always send a little note with each of the books that I send to you guys. And I like to recommend, hey, read this one first, then read this one second. You can do what you want, but this is kind of my recommendation and why. With these, I said, I would recommend that you read like the first section of each book first. So one book, the first section, and then the next book, the first section. And then when the book starts to break down each of the trees into chapters, I would read both books at the same time. So you read all about birch in the first book and then all about birch in the second book, because it really very much felt for me when I read both of these books that they were really one book that went into incredible depth into how much work you can do with each tree. Then last night she did share that this was actually all one manuscript in one way or another, because she had all these notes that she had been collecting over the years of her work with trees, but that the publisher thought it would be way too long. And so even though they were published 10 years apart, they really are part of the same book. So I really picked up on that when I read them in the beginning, which was a couple months ago. That's why I recommended that when people read them, if you want to really have a really deep dive into, let's say, working with alder trees or yew trees or willow or birch, get both books and read both chapters in both books on the tree so that you can really do a deep dive, which is what we're about here at the Witches Box. I really love these books for a couple of reasons. One, if working in the Celtic system calls to you, if working with nature and earth magic calls to you, this book is a beautiful and intimate guide and example of what that kind of a witchcraft practice would be. It is really beautiful. And I haven't talked a lot about it, but it keeps coming up every once in a while. For me, being now, we own property, we own a home. This is new. We just bought this place in June and we're in the forest. And there's just something so, profoundly moving. And I don't want to say heavy, but I feel the weight and the responsibility of being the steward of a particular piece of land. I recognize that owning land is a very conflictual, controversial concept and construct in a lot of ways. But for the purposes of our culture and how we live, my husband and I own this piece of land, and it's a 1/4 of an acre, so it's big but not too big. But even still, we have about 27 trees on this property, and that means something to me. It's not just the trees, but it's the plants, it's the soil, and the animals that live here. And there is this understanding now that we are stewards of a piece of earth that we can either continue treating the way collective society is treating the land around them, or I can be the change that I want to see in the world, right? We want to be in relationship to this land. This land comes with spirit. This land comes with lineage. This land comes with history. That is not my land, but here I am, and I'm a steward of it. So I am very much drawn to any kind of reading that continues to elucidate what it would be like, what it is to be in intimate, spiritual, energetic relationship with the natural world around you. And these books are a gorgeous example of what that can be as its own spiritual path. I love these books. It was a dear pleasure to get a chance to sit with Sharlyn Hidalgo for the conversation last night. And I really recommend them, even if you don't identify as Celtic or that you don't feel like this is part of your lineage. And if you don't have access to these particular trees, because these are trees of the British Isles, we have a lot of these trees in the United States, but they're a little different. Even if you don't have access to these trees, for me, it's a gorgeous example of what this could look like with the trees that you do have in your immediate world. I mean, they're really quite beautiful. To me, it speaks to a specific type of spiritual witchcraft path. Not all witches work with the earth elements at all. I mean, this is one of the beautiful parts of being a witch, that there are so many avenues of expression for you, and it doesn't have to look like this. But to me, it speaks to a very particular type of spiritual witchcraft path or walk in life, where you are in intimate connection with the animated consciousness around us that we take for granted. Trees have intelligence, they have soul, they have an energetic that is yearning and is in communication with us whether we know it or not. Honestly, you guys, I really just, you need to get these books if you haven't. If you weren't part of that subscription service, get these books on your own if this is something that interests you, because it just speaks to a beautiful intimacy that I think we are all missing. The world today is not set up for a lot of contemplative time in the wilderness. Most of us live around concrete with maybe 1 or 2 trees kind of spread out lonely around where we live. There are so many opportunities for deeper connection to what we consider the unseen that serve to really deeply enrich who we are as witches. And books like this continue to remind us of that, they're almost wayfinders back to this place that we've lost track of. So yeah, get them. And one of the beautiful things, and I wanted to say this last night in the video that I did not say when we were gathered together live, is that I mentioned this a couple of in different places over the course of our lives together through the Witch's Box, where it serves you. Life is long. I mean, it's not, it's incredibly short, but on another level, it's long. And there is time and space for you to set time aside to go deep into something. And what I love about these books is that even if, here's the thing, even if this is a path that you're not sure is for you, there is something really powerful about taking works like this that have a very specific structure and committing a year to learning it. So that each month, each lunar month that she outlines here, you take as a month exploration. I'm going to explore all things birch for this entire month. And I'm going to meditate with this tree. I'm going to call in the spirit of this tree. I'm going to invoke that energy. And you take 30 days or 28 days to really focus and dive deep. And then the next month you follow the books and you go into the next tree and the next tree after that. If you dedicated a year of your life, sounds like so much. It is a blink of an eye, people. I'm telling you, a year's time to dedicate to learning one thing deeply can be so enriching and so empowering and can really nourish your intuitive skills, your capacity for disciplining your spiritual pursuits. There's so many layers of benefit to this. And at the end of that year, even if you say or you decide, this isn't quite the path for me, you are going to walk away so much more deeply enriched. The ramifications of that time spent and that time invested will be so far reaching. I appreciated these books for that reason, because so many people ask me, well, what do I do? What do I do every month at the moon? What should I be doing? I don't know. I don't feel like I have a structure. If I'm eclectic, what do I follow? This is also the benefit and the beauty of being in a tradition. Often traditions will give you a specific structure as to when you celebrate certain things and how and why. But I call it a book, but it's really two, but really it's one. These two books can provide you with that kind of an outline if you want to dedicate some time to exploring one thing and diving deep in the limitation of the topic. This is a life lesson in many, many, many ways. When you limit yourself to one thing for a specific amount of time, it feels incredibly constricting, especially in the world we are today, where, especially in the pagan and witchcraft community, we have input coming in from all sorts of directions all the time. I give you different stimulus literally every month with the box that we're focusing on different themes. And that feels like it's this very freeing and expansive smorgasbord. And so then to dedicate yourself to one thing for 1 year can feel incredibly constricting at the onset. But this is the lesson, the gem about life. When you create structure or limitations or boundaries around a certain thing, when you say, I'm only going to focus on one thing, that gives you an incredible amount of freedom that is not, this is important, that energetically is not wide and vast and expansive this way, but what it does is it focuses you and takes you deeper into something that you will never cover if you stay on this kind of vertical, expansive field. So, this topic is probably going to come up a lot over the course of the following months and the years, because one of the things that I really intended for the Witch's Box was that we would have these structures, this outline of how we would do things together that would take us deeper and deeper and deeper, but that would look linear. Nothing is really linear. And I'm discovering that I need to just get really accepting around that and embrace that things kind of work in a spiral, like duh, right? And so I'm finding that the way I drop the seeds of where we're going tends to be spherical, in a spiral, I suppose, non-linear. And so if you don't subscribe to the box, you're still going to get a taste for how we are spiraling deeper and deeper and more focused into certain things. If you do subscribe to the box, you're going to get that. If you subscribe to the books, you're going to get that. If you are just watching us on social media, on some level, you will get that. Because what I'm noticing is that even though I really wanted it to be this like straight line of we're going to cover this and then this and then this and then this, life doesn't work that way. Our souls don't operate that way. We don't grow and expand and learn that way. And so this year, it's very much going to be about continuing to serve up for you all opportunities to taste and to dive deep into different things, while also getting more focused and taking that focus into deeper and deeper realms, because that's what the soul the universe seems to be calling for in many, many ways. So how does this relate to the books? The books are about that. These books are a beautiful read. If you don't want to dedicate a year to something like this, you don't have to. However, even if you just read these to learn about the Celtic calendar, the Celtic tree system, how to work with trees, different rituals that would get you into just intimate relationship with these trees in particular, but also those around you, I highly recommend both of these books. And these are an example from me of how we're going to be diving deep into specific things. And so this kind of speaks to that it seems like in an indirect way, but we're getting there. We're going there. So these books were from February. I'm really grateful that we've got a chance to do that. To all of you who were subscribed for that month, thank you. And I'm so glad that you were part of that journey. Next month, we're going to be dealing with sex magic. At the end of next month, I'll do a whole review on those books as well. The authors for both of the books that we're going to be covering will be there at the live gathering as well, which I'm very excited about. So if you love reading, I know a lot of you love the Booktube videos, but if you really want to go a little deeper in your reading and your studies, I highly recommend the Witches Book subscription. It's $30 a month. You get 2 books, you get some stickers, you get a bookmarker. You get access to the forum so you can talk to the rest of the community that's reading that book as well, so that you guys can talk with one another and with me, and then we get together live at the end of the month. And if you can't join the live gathering, there's a video recording and the link goes out in the forum, the link goes out on email, so you have access to those so you can watch them. The other beautiful benefit is that if you subscribe today and you've missed the last 5 months of our gatherings and our discussions, you get access to all of that. So if you sign up today, you may not have the books that we're going to be reading in March, but you get to actually read what people are talking about. You get to see the video, you get to be part of the video. So all of those things are available retroactively if you subscribe now. So you don't miss out on all the things that were happening months and months ago. So the link to that will be down below. And that's it for today. If you read these books, I'd love to hear what you thought about them. If you haven't, but you're looking forward to it, I want to hear about that too. And if you know of any other writers that are doing beautiful work around working with the Celtic tree system, that would be lovely to know about. Thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.